All right, in this video we're going to talk about adding and subtracting fractions and mixed numbers. So pretty much with just your standard fractions as well as mixed numbers, it works pretty much the same. There's three main things that we got to make sure that we follow, okay? The first one is you got to make common denominators. So reminder, the denominators are the bottom number in a fraction. Okay, so we have fifths and thirds, so they're not the same. So we'll have to make these the same, all right? In order to do that, we look to see if there's a relationship. There's not really a relationship between 5 and 3, or fifths and thirds. So what we do is we'll just multiply each fraction by the denominator of the other fraction. So we're going to turn these into 15ths. So we're multiplying this fraction by 3 and this fraction by 5. And then we're just going to rewrite it directly underneath. So 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 times 5, and 3 times 5 is 15. So what we did was we just turned 1/5 into 3/15. They're equivalent fractions. They look different, but they mean the same thing. And we turned our 1/3 into 5/15 by multiplying it by 5. Now we have common denominators. So when we're adding and subtracting fractions, the denominator stays the same because we're adding 15ths, so our answer is going to be in 15ths as well. And then we just add the numerators. 3 plus 5 is 8. Okay, and that's our second step. Just add or subtract the tops. The bottom stays the same. We can simplify and reduce. There's no number that goes into both 8 and 15, so that is our final answer. So 1/5 plus 1/3 equals 8/15. Okay, let's look at a subtracting one. Subtracting works very much the same way. First thing we want to do is look to see to get the denominators the same. Are they the same? Nope, you've got to get them to be the same. There's not an easy relationship between 3 and 7, so we'll just multiply each fraction by the denominator of the other fraction. So this fraction we're going to multiply by 7. This fraction we're going to multiply by 3. So we'll turn it to 21sts, I guess. So 2 times 7 is 14. 3 times 7 is 21. Subtract. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 7 is 21. Same deal here. Bottoms stay the same. So our answer is still going to be 21sts. 14 subtract 6 brings us to 8. So our answer is 8/21. Okay? So that's your common fractions, okay? Now I'm going to go through mixed numbers and adding and subtracting them. Okay, so we'll do this example here. So we have 1 4/10 plus 2 1/5. All right? Steps stay the same. Are the denominators the same or different? In this case, they're different. We have tenths and we have fifths. Now, there's a relationship between 10 and 5, right? Okay, 5 is half of 10. So instead of multiplying this fraction by 5 and this one by 10 and making them 50ths, we're just going to keep it a little more simple and multiply this fraction just by 2 to make, we'll keep this one at 1 4/10. And then we're going to turn this one to 2 and 2/10. Okay, because 1 times 2, 2. 2 times 5 is 10. Now, what we want to do is we'll add a fraction just like we always do. The denominator stays the same, so we still have tenths. Add our numerators. 4 plus 2 is 6. And now you can add your whole numbers. 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay? Now, this fraction can be reduced. All right? Is there a number that goes into both 6 and 10? We can divide both those in half to make 3 3/5. All right? That would be your final answer that's been simplified. 3 6/10 is correct as well. All right? The other way that you could do this is you could turn them all into improper fractions and then add them and then flip it back. I like just adding the fractions first. So we went 4 plus 2 is 6. The denominator stays the same, and then just add your wholes. We have 1 whole, 2 whole, gets us 3 wholes. All right. So that's adding mixed numbers. If we want to subtract mixed numbers, like this example right here, you just follow the same rules. We got to get the denominators to be the same, so we want to make equivalent fractions where the denominators are the same. 3 and 4, there's no really easy relationship, so we're just going to multiply each fraction by the denominator of the other fraction. The whole stays the same, so it's still 6. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract. I'm just going to move the whole straight underneath. 1 times 3 is 3. And 4 times 3 is 12. Now, we just go ahead and we subtract. We'll subtract the fraction first. 8 subtract 3 is 5. 6 subtract 2 is 4. And that's going to be our final answer. Okay? There are situations where this number is bigger than this and we need to borrow, just like we would with just regular numbers. For example, if we wanted to subtract, let's say 211 subtract 87, you have to borrow. We can do the same thing with fractions as well, but we'll do that on a later date. All right, so biggest thing to remember, we want to make common denominators, add or subtract the tops of the numerators, simplify and reduce if needed at the end. All right.